This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I share information on how to market better, how to sell better, and right now, how to survive better in these strange times that we are in. And we're going to dive right into this because the title is most likely what got you here, and nothing that I say is going to be better than that. But before I begin the interview that you don't want to miss, I want to check in with you and about how you're doing. It's a strange time. You may be flirting back and forth with both feelings of lack and feelings of abundant opportunity. There will be changes ahead for all of us, particularly all of us in the fitness industry. For those personal trainers who have more than a passion, who have tools, who have a plan, and who have a purpose, they are committed to the future, could be brighter than ever. That's my belief. Never more than right now has health, wellness, and the exercise that has to be present for those to happen been more important. And the world is not only listening, it's finally participating. So, however small your own business or your training practice was, if you are out there listening, you're in a perfect position to take control of your future and have an influence far greater than the one you may have imagined when you began this career path. This podcast is brought to you by the Flipping 50 Specialist Certificate. The changes we're observing right now in the world mean that those 46 million women in menopause right now are seeking solutions online and finding the experts that offer an answer to imbalanced hormones. If you know the formula for adjusting a woman's exercise based on her signs, you have a business opportunity that not only changes her life, but the lives of the 3 generations she influences. Learn more about getting started at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/programs. And now I cannot wait to share my guest with you. He's a bad boy, and secretly, I love that about him. Stu Schaefer is the 20-year veteran trainer that other personal trainers use when they want to learn how to quickly and easily get clients and build their business so they never have to worry about money again. At 13, he went to jail and was on the cusp of throwing his life away, but he overcame his struggle. After learning or earning a full ride to the Leeds School of Business and becoming a best-selling author at 21, he's spent the last 14 years helping thousands of trainers go from ordinary to extraordinary and create their dream business. His work is so successful, he's appeared on Fox, NBC, and the CW, and radio programs across the country. Stu, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Okay, let me ask you something really quick. So during the show, I mean, you want me to call you Deb, Deborah, Debbie, the Debster? Like, what do you want me to do here?
If you call me Debbie, you're in major trouble, and I'm going to hit. Deborah is good. All right.
Okay.
I answer to most anything, though, so I have to admit that. Okay, but I get to ask you a question now. So, how does a 13-year-old juvenile delinquent end up being on Fox and NBC? I mean, that's pretty flipping exciting transition right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. You know, like I was kind of headed down the wrong path. You know, I went to jail. I got arrested when I was 13, and it was pretty much all because of who I was hanging out with. But that was actually the catalyst and the trigger that eventually made me want to be a trainer in the first place. What happened was I hated myself. Like I got in trouble, I got arrested, and then I sat in front of this like probation officer. Okay, and the guy looked like Arsenio Hall, but he was not funny, right? So he was just whatever he was saying to me or how he said it, or I don't remember. All I remember is just nonstop crying in his office, and my parents were there going through the court system, and you know the community had kind of labeled me as a criminal. My parents didn't trust me anymore, and everyone who I thought was my friend was no longer my friend. So and that's at age 13 when most kids are already going through a tough time and they're awkward and they're self-conscious and they get bullied or they get made fun of. So just layer that on top of everything. And I was in a pretty dark place. So I thought to myself, like, gosh, what am I going to do? I was up at night crying, praying to God, like, God, why is this happening to me? And I don't know what happened, but like one night, I just remember vividly, I thought, okay, who everyone thinks I am is not who I am. And so I want to show people who I am on the inside, on the outside. And so from there, I just like totally turned my life around, right? I started getting straight A's. I started running because I thought this is what going on in my head. It does kind of funny now, but all I thought was, okay, if I'm running, this was before cell phones, right? I was like, if I'm running, nobody can get in touch with me. I can't get in trouble. If anyone says I was doing something, I just know I could tell the police that I was on a run. And I just kind of did it because it felt good. But then there was this like weird transition. I became anorexic and I started running 2 hours a day. And it was almost like I just was like punishing myself because I hated myself. I was so upset with myself. And nowadays, I think probably what would have happened is cutting, right? But cutting wasn't a thing back then. It was like drugs, but because I just gotten arrested, drugs wasn't an option for me. And so what I did was ended up becoming anorexic. Well, the thing that got me out of that was the book Body for Life by Bill Phillips. And I remember reading that and thinking, oh my gosh, like this is what I needed to hear. And it like totally changed my mindset and my life and everything. And at that was like 1998, 1999, and that was when I decided I really want to be a personal trainer. Like I love fitness. I was already liked the superstars like Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and so I really got into weightlifting, and it became the thing that kept me out of trouble, that kept me healthy, and became a stepping stone for success. And so I ended up writing a book about it. And then I was on all these different news stations across the nation, sharing my story, talking about the book. And it's been an amazing ride ever since.
That is an amazing story for sure. Okay. So clearly, you cracked the code. You got some things figured out, not just about your own life and what inspires you and motivates you and feels good, but you also have figured out a few things about personal training. So this moment we're in is a little bit different. So I could have asked you this question if I'd met you sooner. I could have asked you this question 6 weeks ago. And I think the answer would have been slightly different because now we're in this period of time when it's still true. Whatever you might say is very true. But we potentially are going to weed out some of those trainers and they may not even be in existence anymore. So, listeners here, you're here because you don't believe that. You don't want that to be true. You are going to be those still standing. But you and I both know many trainers, more than succeed, fail. Why is that?
So this is interesting. All right. So I get out of college and I have a degree in finance from the Leeds School of Business in Boulder and a minor in kinesiology or physiology. And so I was thinking, okay, do I want to go down the path all my peers are going, which is get an internship in a financial institution, get a job in finance and go that route? And I got to be honest with you, Deborah, I was like scared. I like had this freak out moment, like, oh my gosh, I should have been doing internships. What am I thinking? I'm going to be a personal trainer. What's going on? And I met with a mentor and he sat down and he drew a line down the center of a sheet of paper. He said, Stu, this is the best advice I ever got in my life. I'm going to give you the same advice. He said, okay, on one side, we're going to write finance. On the other side, we're going to write training. If you start with finance, and you get good at it, like you get promoted, and you're making decent money, and you have this regret, like, man, what would have happened if I would have been a trainer? It's You're going to have to transition to trainer. You're going to have to start from the very bottom, from scratch, and that's very hard to do. Almost nobody can go from super successful to starting from scratch. It's a very tough transition. But if you start as a trainer and you give it a year or two, and the worst case scenario is you fail, you can't make it as a trainer, well, then you can easily just transition from bottom rung to bottom rung over to finance, and a couple years out of college isn't going to hurt you for applying for a job and getting a job. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna train. So I thought, all right, this is no problem. I put together this whole marketing campaign. I went door to door for 2 days straight in a very wealthy neighborhood. I printed up flyers and I was going to do in-home training. And I thought, oh, this is great. And I printed up like 2,500 flyers and delivered them all in 2 days, like 2 days of walking 8 hours each day. And I'm like, this will be perfect. Look, if I just get 10 clients out of this, and each client is trained with me 8 times a month, okay, 8 times a month, and they pay me $50 a session, man, I'll be making $4,000 a month. This is easy. Like, why do trainers struggle so much? So I delivered these flyers, I got everything, and I'm like, all right, baby, it's time to wait for the phone to ring, and nothing, not one phone call. And I like look at
Cricket.
the flyer. I'm like, did I write the wrong phone number down on it? No. It's just like, this is way different than I thought. So I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I had another panic moment. And at the time, I had been doing sales at a gym. And the reason I had been doing sales is because when I got into training, I had asked a couple really successful trainers. I'm talking about like the elite. And I want to back up a little bit. What I've found, I'm going to talk about this. There's an elite group of trainers in the world, okay? And you don't know about them. I mean, well, not you probably know about them, but like the average trainer doesn't know about them. This is the 1% of trainers in the world who are making more than 80,000 a year, and odds are they're even making more than 100,000 a year. So I was fortunate enough to find a couple of these elite trainers. I call them world-class trainers. And the first one said to me, "You need to learn sales." And I said, okay. She goes, do sales at a gym. And because most trainers I run into that fail, they think they're all this hot stuff. They roll in, they got egos, and they know nothing about sales, and they die. They like business dies. I'm like, okay. So I was doing sales for this gym, and then I hit this wall, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was going to be a trainer, and now nothing happened. And one of the owners at the gym said, Stu, there's a trainer here. Kent is his name. The dude is just rolling in the dough, man. You should talk to him. And I thought, okay. So I went up, introduced myself. I said, hey, my name is Stu Schaefer. I really, really want to be a trainer. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just did this. I've totally failed. And I mean, I'm a hard worker. And I was like just pleading my case. And the guy said, why don't we have lunch? So we had lunch. I told him about myself. He's like, man, you and I are very similar. He goes, I would be willing to let you come work for me and I'll show you everything I know. Well, I didn't know this, Deborah, but he was like an elite world-class trainer. He was making over $120,000 a year. And this guy was a professional bodybuilder and he was in these circles. Okay. And I got through him after we built our relationship and I worked for him for a year or so. I got invited into these circles. And I got to tell you, it blew my mind because it's like all the successful trainers are in these circles and they're sharing what's working. And so I, as this young kid starting out as a trainer, was privy to all these amazing things. And Kent and I would be in these meetings, or we would be with these people and we would be talking, and we would then just apply all these things. And within 3 months, I had probably 15 to 20 clients full time, on average, each of them paying me on average about $400 a month. So it was like, boom, just lightning. Now, I say that because what I learned was what the 1% know. And what the 1% know is not how to be a trainer. What the 1% know is how to create a successful training business. And that's a big difference. It doesn't seem big different, but that's a big difference. Now, to answer your question through this story about what's happening now, when you know as a trainer how to run a successful training business, it doesn't matter what's happening in the world. It doesn't matter if you're in a recession. This COVID-19 doesn't matter, because a successful trainer who knows how to run a successful training business, a 1%er who has that mindset, they are so creative, they're so adaptable, that their business is so recession proof and protected. And that's what I teach trainers. That's why I was able to become so successful. And that's why, quite frankly, 90%, I would say 90%. It could be 80, but most likely it's closer to 90. 90% of trainers never make it. And the ones that do, the average salary is like $30,000 a year. So they're either having to work two jobs or it's a side hustle or whatever, which is fine. But if someone's listening now and they're like, no, I want to really be a trainer and a good living, you can. And learning all the things that I just told you, I'm able to work 3 days a week and make over $80,000 a year as a trainer. And that's unheard of. That's a 1% trainer.
That is for sure a one cent trainer, because that was the other thing. First of all, I'm going to come back to the very beginning of your response, but that's the other problem, that some of those people who are making 80 or more, they're working around the clock. They don't have a life. They have a job. I mean, and they're constantly doing it or fearing that if they don't, they're going to lose either the customer or the client. It's just not going to work. So you don't have a life. You can't sustain that for very long, even if you are doing it in most cases. So that is the magic sauce, like figuring out how you did that 3 days a week. That's the magic stuff. I love it. And then way back, just to remind listeners, remembering what you gave them, that was worth the price of admission right here for this podcast. Is how do you decide which way you want to go? Because I know so many listeners have been told at one point, and they have in the back of their head this little voice that says, I'm passionate about training. I really love training. I want to be a trainer. And yet people are telling me I got to get a real job. And I'm doing this thing. I went to school for this thing. So I'm pulled there and I should do that, but really want to do something else. So great to have that exercise essentially in the way to think through that and the way to think through what you need. Because I've said this for probably a decade now, there has never been a better time in the world to be a personal trainer or to be in fitness. So love that. Thanks so much. Okay, so next question. Right now, after seeing the effects, or at least the effects to date, because we don't know conclusively what's going to happen, but the effects of COVID-19, is online training the only way to go? What's your response to that?
Yeah, so this drives me crazy. Like right now, I always follow like different trainers. Obviously, I teach trainers how to build their business online. So I look at other people too, and like they're like vultures, right? You can always tell who's authentic and who isn't, because I'm all of a sudden getting all these emails from these guys like, "Oh man, you have to be an online trainer and sign up for my course." And, "Oh, yeah, get in my course for online training." And it's like, I'm going to be honest, like online training is okay. I'm actually not a huge fan. I think you can do way better offline, like in person. But I will tell you this, when it comes to the 1% and a world-class trainer's mindset, and I just keep saying this because this is true. They are, as us 1% trainers, we have everything. We do everything. We do, I'm getting so excited here. I got to back up. Okay, we don't do everything in terms of like servicing everyone. We have a niche, right? We pick our niche very carefully, but what we don't limit ourselves to one style of training or only one way of training. And I'll give you an example. I make probably $60,000 a year with the one-on-one private training sessions. I probably make another 10 to 15,000 a year selling programs. And then I make another 5 to 10,000 a year selling like books and online programs. So there's so many things at work, plus investments, plus coaching, plus support groups. And so when something like this COVID-19 hits, has my income changed a little bit? Yes, absolutely. I think right now we're in kind of a state of change. So of course it's going to change. However, I'm not worried because of all the knowledge I have that I've learned through the years and how easily I could create a program. So let me just give you an example. Let's say a trainer's listening to this. They were only doing in-person trainer, and now they're like, whoa, what do I do? I can't even train. My income is zero. What do I do? Well, like, you get to work. That's what you do. And you say, okay, how could I take the programs that I did, whether it was a 4-week, 8-week, 12-week program in person, how can I make that something online, package it into an 8 or 12-week program, and charge anywhere from $2, $3, $4, $500 for that? And then how can I justify that price? What kind of value can I add? Like, what kind of things can I get people into a Facebook group? Can I give them a recipe guide? Can we get on a phone call every week? Is it a one-on-one phone call? Is it a conference call? Am I going to be sending them hard copy stuff? Is it all going to be electronic? These are all parts of designing a program that the 1% trainers have. They've already started doing it. They started doing it probably last week or 2 weeks ago. And they're fine, or they were already doing it, right? They were already doing it. Like, I have a book that I sell online. I have a program that I sell online. I have a 4-part video series that is free that people can watch that talks about weight training, nutrition, cardio, mental, and emotional fitness, which then allows them to join a program. So those were already at work. But what happens is, we can now, the 1% trainers who know this, who have the skills, the mentality, all the stuff I teach, right? Now all we do is we shift, right? We shift our energy from the in-person to some of that. But as soon as the COVID-19 passes, I will tell you this: any trainer who gets into it now, I'm talking right now, and prepares, and they're ready, there is going to be a flood. It's going to be like opening the floodgates. Couple reasons for this. People are being cooped up at home. They're going to gain weight. They're going to want to get back into society and back with people ASAP. That means hiring a trainer to fast track it. And that means being able to spend some money. Now, when we recover from the recession, like always, people start spending. I built my business. I graduated college in 07. So I built my business in 08. That was the recession. And so, trainers listening right now, this is your golden moment right now to prepare, to get the information, and be ready for when the floodgates open, because you're either going to be a trainer who reaps the reward and gets a flood of clients, and then you can sustain that business again if you have the skills and knowledge, or you're going to watch all the trainers who are the 1% trainers or who have gotten the skills get all the clients, and you're going to be left wondering what you did wrong.
I love that. And I can echo, totally resonate with that. Back in 2008, when the recession hit, we actually grew. So at that point, I was the personal training director for a club with 3 locations. We grew so fast during those 3 years because although every other industry was slowing down, people were reaching for health and positivity. They wanted it and they were hungry for it. So, such a great message. All right. So much of what you've just said already hints at what you teach that is so different and unique. Anything we missed there?
Well, listen, so here's the thing. I've been in this for 20 years, okay? And I've seen a lot of trainers. I've seen man, I've seen trainers who had so much potential, and they just failed, and they had to quit, and they had to give up on their dreams. And what I'm saying is this: the 1%, the world-class trainers, that elite group, that circle that I was somehow blessed to find this mentor and get welcomed into, the only difference is the knowledge. And I got to tell you, the dirty little secret is this: they're not the best trainers. They don't have PhDs in exercise. What they do know is business, and what they do know is how to treat clients right. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad trainers. I mean, they're not like, if you saw them in a gym, you'd be like, wow, they're a good trainer, but they're definitely not the best trainers. What they are is they just have the knowledge of how to blend the training part of it with the business part of it, and with the cash flow part of it, with the service part of it. And then that's something I think that is very different, and hardly anyone touches on that.
So good. Okay. So somebody's listening and they're feeling like, they're drinking the Kool-Aid, Stu. I got to tell you, I think if you offered me something right now, I'd buy something from you because you're so convicted. I'm like, I like this guy. So, what is the first thing that beginner trainer right now should do if they want to be successful?
Yeah. So, okay, let's say, so there, if you're a total beginner, right, you don't have clients yet, or you just started at a gym and then this whole thing hit and the gym closed or whatever. What I would say is you've got to work on, you got to get the mindset skills. You probably already have enough of the training skills. So here's the biggest mistake I see beginner trainers making. They're always trying to look for programs that teach them how to be a better trainer, like program design and um, uh, periodization and this and that. You don't need that. That's not what you need. What you need is the knowledge and the mindset to see how you can create value, to see how you can distinguish yourself. One of the first things I tell trainers to do, pick a niche. Pick a specialty, up to 3 specialties. So when you're around the gym, or when you're talking with potential online clients, or when you're talking with just anyone and they ask you what to do, you have some specialties, whether it's golf or whether it's fat loss or body sculpting or facilitated stretching or something like that, where if someone says, "Oh man, well that's interesting because I have like the worst flexibility in the world. You specialize in flexibility." They're going to want to hire you versus a trainer says, "Oh yeah, I do everything for everyone." And they're going to be like, "Really?" Like, okay. So it adds to your credibility, adds to your expert status, and it really raises you above competition. So I would really start focusing on that and messaging. Get online and start putting together a program. Like right now, put together an 8-week intensive program that you would be proud to charge $400 or $500 for, because you're going to deliver so much value for your clients.
Love it. And I couldn't agree more. That seeking information and wanting to learn, part of that is just we want to stay in that comfort zone. And for personal trainers, learning more about fitness, another 10 ways to use a medicine ball is so much more comfortable than learning about the finance piece of it. But you got to break out of that comfort zone. Okay. So that's a beginner. Great advice. What's the most important thing a seasoned trainer can do to grow their business?
So with the seasoned trainer, like the biggest mistake I see them making is, first of all, their schedule sucks, and second of all, they need to learn how to create more and better lead generating strategies that can then create an automatic flow of clients. So I'll give you an example on both of those. So when I was pulled into these circles of these elite trainers, the biggest thing I found out that I had no idea existed was that these guys and girls would say, "Oh yeah, like my leads just come in and day out." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I would do a free session and then I would try to, well, I would like prospect, then do a free session and then hope and pray that I did such a good job on that free session that that client would want to sign up with me. And probably 8 times out of 10, they wouldn't, right? They just took whatever I gave them in the free session and they were like a freeloader. And I would get so upset and I would be like, why? I was so frustrated. And I would be like, this sucks. Like, oh, I hate that. And so when I figured the way the 1%ers do it, they have these things where they set up once and they're constantly creating leads for them so that by the time someone gets in front of them, they're ready to buy. And I combine that with an elite sales trainer taught me this sales technique, because I'm like I was the shyest guy you've ever met. Like you have to remember, I was anorexic. I had very low self-esteem because of what happened. Like there'd be times I was just even afraid to say hi to a member at the gym that I didn't know. And so this client noticed it. And she's like, "Stu, we need to talk." And I was like, "Okay." I got to tell you, like, I got lucky so much, I'm so grateful. But she's like, "Stu, let me show you something." She was an elite sales trainer for Xerox, and if you know anything about Xerox, for decades they were the number one company when it came to sales. There would be people that would just go to work for Xerox just to get their sales training, and then they'd quit Xerox and go somewhere else just after they got the sales training. So she showed me this sales training, and it was like a breath of fresh air, because for someone like me who's shy, reserved, not that confident, I don't ever want to feel pushy. I have a real hard time telling someone, hey, you need to sign up with me. Like, I would just freak out even for the thought of that, right? I'd never wanted to talk with people on the floor. When she showed me this, is like anyone who got in front of me, 4 out of 5 people who got in front of me signed up with me. And so for the intermediate or the seasoned trainers, you need to learn how to get the automatic lead generating going, and you need to learn this kind of a sales or presentation style, so that anyone who gets in front of you signs up with you. And that doesn't matter. See, Deborah, it doesn't matter if you're online, if you're offline, if you're at an in-home, if you're at a gym, if you have your own studio, it doesn't matter. The thing about the 1% that I keep alluding to, because this is so critical, it doesn't matter what type of trainer you are. It doesn't matter if you're beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? I was a total newbie. I was a complete beginner, and I got welcome into this thing. Within 3 months, I had 15 to 20 clients, and I was full-time within 3 months. I mean, that's unheard of. And my clients stay with me for 10 years. Like, I have the same clients 10 years later, and that's unheard of, right? I have no turnover. And so what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't matter. It works for every trainer, every kind of business, studio, in-home, backyard trainers, if they have their own thing in like a garage or whatever. It doesn't, in gym, online, it doesn't matter. These are the principles that when you follow, you get a steady stream of clients. You learn how to create value. You learn how to enroll them into your system and your training, and you deliver such amazing over-the-top service that they will never want to leave or stop training with you.
So love it. So consistent all the way through. Just everything that you've just said, actually, from answering question one, was literally about there's a system. There's a system. So nothing about it is random, and super clear that there's a certain body of knowledge that you need to learn. You need to apply it consistently and frequently and get better results. Okay. So we're drinking the Kool-Aid, every listener and me. Where do we get more stew? Because now we need more.
Okay, so my site is called the6figuretrainer.com. And that, I mean, that should be easy to remember, but it's the6figuretrainer.com. And if you go there right now, what you'll see is there's a little miniature survey that says, hey, are you a beginner? Are you an intermediate still trying to grow your business? Or are you an advanced trainer and you're working crazy hours and you want to learn how to keep your income, but just scale back your schedule, like from 70 hours a week to maybe like 35 or 40, like a normal week. You click on that, and you can get a free report that gives you seven techniques of just a small glimpse into some of the stuff that I'm talking about, the 1% stuff, a couple of little tactics that you can start using right away, along with how I was able to go from literally scratch zero to, $8,000 up to $11,000 a month within a year as a trainer.
Love that. Super generous. Okay. So if you're listening out there and you're working out while you're listening, which is exactly when I listen to my podcast, that's 6SIX. But I'm also going to put the link just right in the show notes. So you'll be able to find that at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/Stu, STU. Okay. Because he's the man today. Okay. This is the hardest question, right, of all. Is there something I should have asked you? What'd I miss?
Yes. So the biggest mistake. So let me just pull back for right now. I think the most critical piece of information or strategy that any trainer listening to this, whether they're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, they're online, they're offline, they're in gym, they're in home, they're doing okay, they're suffering, it doesn't matter. Right now, there's 2 things that trainers need to do. And if you just do these 2 things, well, 3 things if you include going to my site, getting the free report. But other than that, there's 2 things. You need to come up with a killer, amazing program. an 8 week something, 8 weeks where if a client goes through with 8 weeks, they will just have amazing results. Create something there and start delivering it online right now. But be ready to take it into the gym and launch it in person when the little crisis passes, because you're going to have so many people just dying and want to flood in, and they're going to want that. And if you have testimonials and before and afters and stuff like that, which is another 1% tip, by the way, always get proof, you'll be ready. And then the second thing you need to realize is that there's always people with money. And don't ever tell yourself that people aren't willing to buy or use you as a trainer, because that's the biggest lie I see trainers tell themselves. Is they say, I don't think people are going to want to hire a trainer. Why can they hire a trainer when they can do it on their own? I don't think they're going to want to spend that. That's the biggest lie. If you create value and you're special, and you are special because you are who you are, and you unleash that, they will pay. And there's always money out there, and you are valuable. That's the last thing, that the biggest piece of advice I can leave the listeners with.
That amazing pieces of advice. So I'm going to echo what Stu said. So one more thing was create a killer program. Two, always know that you can't tell yourself that, not anybody or everybody's not spending money. Don't tell yourself that. And the third thing, of course, was go to his site, the6figuretrainer.com. Stu, thanks so much for being here.
Deborah, awesome. I just really appreciate you, and hopefully that there's some trainers listening who we can really help, and they're like, yes, this is what I needed to hear.
I'm sure there is, and I've already got a couple of ideas. I'm going to have you back, so we'll be seeing you soon. And trainers, if there's a question that I should have asked that I didn't, you can leave that below the show notes at fitnessmarketingmastery/Stu. And what are you waiting for? Start making a difference right now.